Hello everyone. Welcome to Ka Homeopathy Study Group Pro Bono webinar. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. So nice to see many of you from different countries and different time zones. Before we start our webinar, we always thank Universe for giving us this great opportunity. Dr. Sweta Singh, our Ka Chief Administrator, will start the session.
Hello everyone, myself Dr. Shweta Singh, Ka Chief Administrator, welcomes our respected speaker, Chairman and CEO Kavita Ma'am, Ka volunteers and all the attendees to Ka webinar. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce Ka Homeopathy Study Group to all of you. Ka Homeopathy Study Group Pro Bono was organized and founded by homeopath and humanitarian Kavita Kuknur, President and CEO of Kavita Holistic Approach, Ka. This study group is intended to be an offering from Kavita to the homeopaths around the globe, sharing goodwill and solid clinical work within the classical model are foundational principles for the Ka's mission and vision are very unique to inspire young homeopaths, mentor, provide excellency for educational purposes using holistic approaches via webinars, which are based on principles of classical homeopathy and provide professional continuing educational homeopathic credits for practitioners. We provide merit certificates for spreading the light of homeopathy around the globe. Dr. Kavita is a member of Kevin Friendly Foundation, a non-profit organization that helps to serve poor people in greater needs in India. She is nationally board certified by Council for Homeopathic Certification, CHC, and Achina CPT provider, and serves as the associate editor for the Homeopathic Heritage. She is the recipient of Martha Allman Community Service Award by National Center for Homeopathy and Best Entrepreneur Award from Dr. N. Lingaraju, Principal of JSPS Homeopathic Medical College, Hyderabad, India. TANA, Telugu Association of North America, a prestigious organization, honored and awarded her for selfless homeopathic and humanitarian services at Ladies Night Out on October 2022, Michigan. Also, Dr. Kavita received the prestigious Legendary Homeopath Award with joint hands of Honorable Health Minister Dr. Dhan Singh Rawat, Senior MLA Mr. Harbhajan Singh Chima, ex-Director Homeopathy, Government of Uttarakhand and Chairman of HomeoCure and Research Institute during National Homeopathic Seminar Homeopathy, the Future Medicine at Kashipur on 21st August 2022. Dr. Rajneesh Kumar Sharma, Ka advisor, and myself, Ka team were also recognized and presented with Legendary Homeopath Award at the ceremony. We are proud to announce that Dr. Kavita was honored as the Woman of the Year 2023 from prestigious organization NATA, North American Telugu Association, USA. Dr. Kavita was also honored by renowned DTA Detroit Telugu Association Executive Committee on Mother's Day at Michigan, USA with DTA Community Service Award 2023. We are extremely happy and proud that we celebrated 13 years of her book Beyond the Limits, A Challenge to Prove Oneself, and her second book, A Dose of Spirituality with Kavita, has also going to complete its 3 years. The ebook was launched almost 2 years back in presence of honorable guest of speakers, American Institute of Homeopathy, AIH President Dr. Alex Becker, and Council for Homeopathy CHC President Dr. Sheetal Tiwari at our Ka webinar. At Ka second annual celebration, our honorable guest of speaker, Dr. Jawahar Shah, Chairman of Enlightenment Education, launches audio version and hard copy. We have also donated over $1,500 to 10 to 15 charities, which we have also listed on the website. Dr. Kavita donated the proceedings of the book through Ka Homeopathy Study Group platform to various charitable organizations and homeopathic associations. To name a few are Kevin Flendy Foundation, CHC, DHMA, JSPS College, VT Seva, NCH, etc. Interested ones can reach us for details at castudygroup@gmail.com. As of now, we have nearly 450 recording on professional webinars related to homeopathy, health related topics, and inspirational talks available on our YouTube channel with the name Kavita Kuknoor. This webinar is moderated by me, Dr. Mamta, and Ka volunteers. It is being recorded as we speak, and we will take questions at the end of the webinar. Kindly mute yourself and turn your video off for better connection. Over to you, Dr. Kavita.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sweta. She manages our car activities with cute smile. And we thank all our enthusiastic car volunteers. And I thank Ka Homeopathy Study Group entire team for their continuous selfless support with which we are able to make our pro bono activities and webinars so beautiful. And these webinars are for educational purposes only and should not misuse any of the course content without speaker's permission. Always seek an expert homeopath for treatment. Being HNA CPD provider encourages homeopaths to become CHC certified and to participate at HNA accredited CU webinars. Today, December 7th, 2024, we have two honorable speakers, Dr. Shaji Kudiyat from India, but right now he is at Philippines on topic effectiveness of homeopathic high dilution medicines, the dynamic scientific perspective. And our second speaker, Dr. CATHY LEMMON from Texas, USA, will be speaking on homeoprophylaxis at a deeper level of understanding. Today's session will be 2 hours and very interactive and enlightening. And no introduction is needed for Dr. Shaji. Everyone know him very well. BSc, BHMS, MD Homeo, and PGDY, PGCC, and he has been the herald of a new paradigm of science, dynamic science. He is founder of Universal Humanity Movement (UHM), Vice President, International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy (IFPH), promoting homeopathy worldwide through webinars. Chief International Coordinator, Global Coalition for Promotion, Education and Research in Homeopathic Medicine. Is Vice President in charge of Philippines Asian Homeopathic Medical League (AHML). President and Chief Researcher, DSA Global Medical Homeopathic Research and Development Center in Philippines. He is author of book Homeopathic Medicine, an unavoidable medical revolution, published by St. George Homeopathic Research and Development Center, Philippines. A concise and comprehensive introductory book on homeopathic medicine, the first one to introduce homeopathy in the Philippines, and is known as the father of homeopathy in the Philippines. First to formulate DSA treatment, dynamic scientific approach for prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of diseases, especially cancer. First to introduce dynamic science as sports science, and first to introduce genetic counseling, which helps in overcoming hereditary problems and in preventing the manifestations of unhealthy hereditary predisposition. There is so much to say about Dr. Shaji, and for more information, visit his website www.drcancer.org. And let us welcome our first honorable speaker, Dr. Shaji, and everyone wait until our second speaker too. So, Dr. Shaji, please welcome.
Thank you all. Thank you, Kavita Holistic Center, for your warm welcome, good words, and for this invitation. So I am going to speak you about. I can share the presentation. Am I co-host, no?
Yes, please.
Okay, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
And you want to make it a slideshow, Dr. Shaji?
Yeah, I will do it. Okay. So I will be speaking on effectiveness of homeopathic high dilution medicines, the dynamic scientific perspective. I am Dr. Shaji Kudiyat, and drcancer.org is our website. So this topic is of very relevance today as homeopathy is being questioned due to its unscientificity, because the current science, which is material philosophy based, is unable to identify any material content in homeopathic medicine that makes the current medical science criticize homeopathy, because their line of treatment and their medicines always contains material ingredients. So in 1910 in America, Abraham Flexner created Flexner report, who was hired by Carnegie Foundation and funded by Rockefeller Foundation. And this Abraham Flexner created the Flexner report, where he added biochemical medicine should be the scientific medicine. And these two giants, Carnegie Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation, implemented this one-man committee report in the United States of America in 1910, after which all non-chemical, non-biochemical medicine became unscientific medicine. But truly, it is not the truth, because a living phenomena is not just the physical plane alone, but it is composed of mind, vital force or soul, and different energy components also along with the physical body. Only if the dynamic components are associated with the physical body, then only the living phenomena is existing. We can say the body is alive. So only a live body is needed. If the living phenomena is not existing, it is just a dead body. So this is the label. This is a disclaimer. All KHA Homeopathy Study Group webinars are for educational purposes only and not intended to diagnose or treat a disease. Listeners can benefit with the information shared at the webinars. The opinions expressed by the speakers, moderators, and attendees are part of the educational experience and do not necessarily represent the position of Habida Holistic Approach, KHA, or Ka Homeopathy Study Group Pro Bono. Okay, thank you for this disclaimer, and everybody is informed like the same. So this information which I am going to share is important information that is going to transform the future of homeopathy scientifically. So what is science? Science is to help us understand why and how things are happening within and around us. When we look into the universe, we can see that so many things happening within us and around us are not well understood. Our living phenomena, how we are alive, is still not clearly understood. The universe, the origin of the universe, and so many things, including how cancer develops, are still not well understood. So, all over the world today, cancer is treated even without understanding how cancer develops. The entire cancer treatment around the world is just targeting to the destruction of the tumor through chemotherapy and radiation therapy, or removal of the tumor through surgery. But the problem is that whatever way we destroy it or remove it, it is still coming back. So in such a scenario, what is missing is that we fail to understand how the patient who is suffering from a cancer develop the cancer from a healthy state to a cancerous state. So, my search was originally to find a solution for cancer. On the process, I identified a new scientific hypothesis called dynamic science that scientifically explains many things which present material science failed to explain. That includes how mind, vital force, and DNA that control the physical functions are incorporated or interconnected. So, this is going to make the holistic science that should be the scientific basis for medical systems, medical science, or study of biology and living organisms. But unfortunately, the same science, the material science or linear science that governs the technology development is still implemented in the study of a living organism where we need to provide energy for machines to function, whereas we have living organisms have innate energy within us that is spontaneously capable of functioning. So this is called a nonlinear science. So the linear science and nonlinear science are basically differentiated because linear science governs the technological development and nonlinear science is the scientific basis for study of living organisms. But unfortunately, linear science is the main science applied in the study of living organisms also that totally ignore the dynamic components associated with the living phenomena, looking at the biochemistry and the physical body alone, that makes a huge scientific mistake today that is needed to be corrected in the soonest possible time. So how science progress? Science always progress. Science always progress by questioning answers and answering questions. So, introduction and discovery of dynamic science also happened through a series of questioning and answers happened in my mind to identify how cancer develops and the causes that produce the cancer from all possible dimensions. So, I am going to present this important information for your awareness so that you will be able to follow me in the development of the dynamic scientific concept. So this is important to understand how homeopathy works because homeopathy is also a holistic system of medicine. So we need to understand the fundamentals of how the living phenomena functions, and also then we will be explaining how how matter and energy are interconnected. So the main objectives that the listeners will understand through this webinar is the understanding of how mind, vital force, and DNA are interconnected. That is the very fundamental of a living organism, especially a human being, and how matter and energy are interconnected. Also, to help you realize how the material and other sources we are using to prepare homeopathic medicine through the process of potentization convert into an energy medicine capable of influencing the vital force which control the physical functioning and help understanding macrocosm and microcosm. It is the study and understanding of the universe. This also help us understand giving a new definition of matter or atom. And also, now we have identified nanoparticles in homeopathic medicine. This discovery is of greatest importance, but that we cannot fully establish homeopathy, scientificity of homeopathy through the discovery of nanoparticles alone, because these are still in the material plane. We need to understand how these nanoparticles function in the dynamic plane or enable nanoparticles to function in the dynamic plane, or what are these nanoparticles, why it is how it is able to function in the energy plane to influence the dynamic vital force to make a cure. Also, what is acting curatively in homeopathic medicines and how homeopathic medicines work. So these are the fundamental information I am going to clearly explain to you. So give a nice listening. So I am going to directly get into the topic because only 1 hour is with us. So we will be directly going there. The evolution of dynamic science and dynamic scientific approach. So it is basically, as I told you, developed by the inductive logical analysis of cancer. It is starting with a very simple school level knowledge to going beyond what is known today. That is why the symbolically I presented, we can see the present knowledge of biology and the science, especially genetics, through the eye we are having, but we are going within the eye to go beyond what is seen today. So first question was, what is cancer? Cancer is abnormal fast multiplication of cells. Now the next question, what or who decide the rate of multiplication of cells? It is decided by the genetic information present in the chromosomes in the nucleus of the cells. As we all know, we have 46 chromosomes within the nucleus of each and every cell in a human body. 23 coming from father, 23 from the mother. So these 46 chromosomes decide the entire functional abilities of every organ, the human as a whole, every organ, every systems and functioning of each cell in our body. So these are very important connectivity. So within the chromosome, what is a chromosome? If we pull from one end of a chromosome, we will get a structure like this that is called DNA. So it means that chromosomes are nothing but a kilometers long DNA coiled together and compressed together to form the chromosome. So basically, as we all know, the fundamental genetic information that decides each cell and each and every functioning within the body, within the cell and outside the cell, in the tissues, organs, systems, and the entire body is encoded in the DNA. So, what is this DNA and how it is encoded and how it functions? So we all understand that two British scientists, Watson and Crick, developed a three-dimensional model of spiral DNA. So spherically arranged DNA. So the extreme right, you can see a three-dimensional view of a DNA, and the extreme left, you can see a little more enlarged, and in the middle, you can see a enlarged, very enlarged view of a DNA, where we can see the DNA of every individual is differentiated by the sequential arrangement of four nucleotides or nucleic acids within the DNA. They are adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. So only four nucleic acids arranged in a sequential order carries our genetic information. We are familiar with the one more term called gene. It is nothing but a segment of DNA with a unique sequential arrangement and a unique spatial activating dimension, and which is capable of performing a specific function is called a gene. So with this much is known to the world. So for example, if we take a small segment of the DNA, the first segment, this segment we consider it as a gene, we can call it as a CGT gene. So if the G is replaced by C, that is called such changes when it happened, we all know it is called a mutation. So the CGT gene becomes CCT gene. So the mutated gene will be directing that gene to function in a different manner. So these changes takes place before the development of cancer or any genetic disorder. So the question or one more thing is that newly identified by Bruce Lipton and others during the genome studies that certain biological changes or functional modifications are happening without the derangement of sequential order. How it is happening also they identified, it is happening because of the spatial activation dimension difference. So originally each gene has a specific spatial orientation in its activation. If that orientation changes, then also the function of that gene changes, but the sequence remains the same. So these, they are calling it epigenetic changes. So these are the two possible changes available. So now, the next very important question here is, if these sequential arrangement of nucleic acids or their spatial orientation decides the genetic functioning ability of that particular gene which is activated to implement that function, who is directing this nucleic acid to activate in that spatial dimension, or these nucleic acids to go and arrange in that order? So that is a very important question, and I am going to answer that question, and that is my new hypothesis of dynamic science. But before answering that question, so the important question here is, who decides the sequential arrangement of nucleic acids in the DNA, which decides everything? So the new hypothesis is the answer to that. But before answering that question, I am bringing to your attention the difference between a living body and dead body, or how we die, or if we divide the death process into three stages: before death, during death, and after death, what actually happens during death that converts the living body into dead body? So there is something happen. If we look into the physical plane of the living body and dead body, almost every ingredients, except in accidents or in surgery, death during surgery, or in all other conditions, every organs and functional ingredients present in the living body are totally present in the dead body. But something happened during death that transformed the living body into the dead body. So we are going to conduct a simple experiment in the most important vital organs that we all believe maintain our living phenomena, that is the brain and the heart. So we study the brain with the EEG, or electroencephalogram, and ECG, electrocardiogram. So when we take the EEG and ECG of a living body and dead body, we can see that EEG and ECG are positive in the living body and negative in the dead body. Very simple exam or investigation. That's why when we bring a critically ill patient to a high-tech hospital, the doctors transfer that patient to ICU and connect with the electrodes or metal energy conductors to different critical parts of the body, and connect to a processor and a monitor where we monitor a wave like rhythm in the monitor. As long as that wave present in the monitor, we know the patient is alive. As soon as the wave become a straight line, we declare the patient dead. It means that the vital energy or the vital force or the vital principle that governs the living phenomena within that body stop exist, that demarks the death of that person. So it again means that the difference between a living body and dead body is the presence and absence of energy in the body. So what is energy? How we can difference different forms of energy or differences in energy? According to physics again, there are three parameters that differentiate different forms of energy, which we call frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. That's why we can use different mobile phones. We broadcast programs in different frequencies in different television stations, through the television stations and radio stations, and we tune into that frequency to get that channel. Frequency is the number of waves produced in 1 second. Wavelength is length of an up and down movement of a vibrating particle, and also amplitude is the vertical height from the center of a moving wave. So these three parameters are different in different energy states. So with this much understood, if there is a energy in every living organism, there will be differences in the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force of each and every individual. So with this much information, I am going to state the new hypothesis of dynamic science. And the new hypothesis connects between the DNA and the vital energy present in every living organism. Just an incidental observation, look at the two-dimensional picture of a DNA and the energy vibration. We can see a wave-like appearance of the Watson and Crick model of the DNA structure and the waveform of energy. So now the new hypothesis states that the sequential arrangement of nucleic acids in the DNA that decides everything about the functional ability of that organism is nothing but a physical proportionate expression of the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force that governs the living phenomena in that organism. I repeat, the sequential arrangement of nucleic acids in the DNA that decides everything about the genetic makeup and functional ability, including the rate of multiplication of cells in the body of a living organism in each and every cell, is decided by the proportionate physical expression of the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force that governs the living phenomena in that organism. So our vital force is nothing but a union of so many energy vibrational frequencies, each of which govern the functions of each cell, each tissues, each organs, and each systems in our body. And its union forms the vital force. It can be compared to an orchestra. When we in an orchestra, there are many instruments: violin, guitar, tabla, drums, many instruments are there. So while we compose and edit a orchestra, we can differentiate the energy vibrational frequencies of each music instrument and fine tune it, remove its impurities and fine tune it, and then fuse all these together to bring out as a single wave as orchestra. So our vital force is a similar fashioned mechanism, and as long as this vital energy is present, we are alive. Now there is one more thing here. According to this hypothesis, if there is any change in the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force, if ever it occurs, that can uh, create proportionate changes in the DNA structure also. So the important question here is if this hypothesis is right. So the important question here is it possible to modify the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of our vital force? Before answering that question, I bring to your attention another dynamic entity present in every human being. At least we can understand that, the mind. And another hypothesis is that every thought that we allow to develop in our mind is an energy vibration or energy vibration with a unique frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. So there are different levels of thoughts and emotions we develop from negativity to positivity. So these energy vibrational thoughts has different frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. So when a living person go on living, there exist minimum two energy vibrational frequencies in the same body at the same body at the same time. One is the vital force energy, another one is the thought, thought and emotions energy. So what happens when two energy vibrations coexist in the same body at the same time? Or how the mind influences the soul or the vital force or the spirit? This can be again studied by two physics theories, theory of resonance and or theory of superposition or interference. So what is theory of resonance? What is theory of superposition? So it can be studied in physics lab using a two physics lab apparatus called sonometer and tuning fork, and also through a graphic presentation. So I am getting the help of a physics scientist who will explain what is theory of resonance and theory of superposition through a physics lab experiment and graphic presentation. Just listen to this video.
let me explain the remarkable phenomena of resonance. All objects have frequencies that they prefer to vibrate at. That is the remarkable phenomena of resonance. And also this, let me explain the remarkable phenomena of resonance and also the superposition of waves. All objects have frequencies that they prefer to vibrate at. That is, every object has a unique natural frequency of vibration. The natural frequency of vibration is determined by the physical parameters of the vibrating object. If one tries to vibrate it at a different frequency, the vibrations will be dampened and eventually die out. Alternatively, if some external different frequency is superimposed over a string which is vibrating at its natural frequency, modifications will occur to the initial natural frequency. At resonance, the system will oscillate at maximum amplitude. A vibrating object will pick out its resonant frequencies from a complex excitation and vibrate at those frequencies, essentially filtering out the other frequencies present in the excitation. Let us see how we study resonance. A sonometer and a tuning fork can be used for this. Now, how we understand the resonance? A tuning fork available in a laboratory is struck and stem is placed solidly on the sonometer. When the wire is tuned to the frequency of the fork, sympathetic resonance can be heard. Now, the usual method of determining resonance is by placing a small paper rider on the string. On resonance, as the string vibrates strongly, the paper rider falls off. A more familiar example to this is the swinging on a swing. If someone pushes at the right time or in tune with the natural frequency, the amplitude of the swing increases. This principle applies to more than swings and is a fundamental happening. Let us look at what happens when two waves of different frequencies and amplitude traveling in the same medium meet. We observe the formation of a new wave with modified parameters. This is explained by a fascinating concept in physics, which describes the behavior of overlapping waves, distinguished as superposition of waves or interference. This can be easily understood by looking at this graphic presentation.
So when two waves meet at the same medium at the same time, they superpose each other and the permanently existing wave gets proportionately
The
modified.
superposition of waves thus results when two or more waves are present simultaneously at the same medium at the same time. The resultant is the sum of disturbances from the individual waves. At a sufficiently large amplitude, the superposition principle often breaks down and interacting waves may scatter off, lose amplitude, or change their form. The implication of this basic comprehension spread over to many natural occurrences.
So this is a very important information to explain so many things. We can explain how bacteria and viruses develop in a living organism as the natural consequence of self-healing ability. I'm not going to explain that now, but I am going to bring your attention the importance of disciplined and naturally positive mind in the healthy existence of a human. I am specifically mentioning the word naturally positive, not simply positive. the naturally positive has a big, important impact in its meaning. I'm not going to explain that also. But in cancer prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation, that natural positivity has great implications. So anyway, when we allow our mind to remain happy, comfortable, mature, peaceful, and naturally positive in our thoughts, such thoughts will superpose with our vital force and modify its frequency, wavelength, and amplitude to a healthy, pure, and stable state, resulting into a constructive DNA mutation or epigenetic change, resulting into a curative progress or transformation of the DNA. Similarly, when we have negative emotions like anger, hatred, enmity, depression, grief, jealousy, fear, anxiety, worry, insecurity, guilty feeling, anything we name negative, such a thought process or emotions will superpose with the vital force and modify its frequency, wavelength, and amplitude to a unhealthy state or a destructive state, resulting into proportionate modification in the DNA, resulting into destructive mutation or destructive DNA alteration or destructive epigenetic transformation. And we can see these important events in every chronic patient with a chronic disease. We are supposed to look into it as a homeopathy doctors and correct it. This is what Hardman mentioned, identification and rectification of the fundamental causes along with the supply of our medicines, along with the providing the right medicines to our patients. Then only complete cure happens. So now, what are the different modes of DNA alteration or mutation possible? Number one, through direct resonance or superposition of the vital force by the thoughts from our own mind. That means energy from within the body. That is our mind. So that I already explained, that is the most important thing, because our vital force is in 24 hours in touch with the thoughts that we allow to develop in our mind. So this is the most important influence. And the second thing is through the direct resonance or superposition of the vital force by external forces coming from outside the body. So one is the energy developed from inside the body. Second one is energy from outside the body, that include man-made energy sources like X-rays, thoughts of others, cosmic radiations and influences. Medicines like homeopathic medicines also are energy medicines coming from outside to influence our vital force, which can make a curative transformation. I am going to explain that one in detail. So one thing more I am adding here for your awareness is the thoughts of others is also very important. If I am angry to another person or a group of people, the moment I allow the development of anger emotion in my mind, that emotion first impact my own vital force and superpose with it and modify its frequency to a destructive level while I am liberating that thoughts to the universe. After liberating from my mind, originating from my mind, these energy vibrations travel to seek and superpose with the vital force of the targeted individuals whom I am imagining in my mind as targets, and it will superpose with their vital force and modify and influence the sequential arrangement of their nucleic acids in the DNA also. But if such people keep a positivity within their mind, within them, the positivity within them will nullify the impact from outside. This is very important spiritual teaching that we all learn from our forefathers, especially from India. That is why the most important protection is purity of mind and soul. And forgiveness is the most important medicine. Whether we suffer out of somebody's mistake or not, for our own sake of protection and health, we need to forgive them. If they did a wrong, that is their problem. They will get a karma or cosmic spontaneous impact of that, because by creating that, they themselves destroyed. They themselves are the first thing to be distracted by their own karma of developing and allowing the development of a negative emotion. So that the consequence of that, they will today, tomorrow, or day after tomorrow, they will definitely will pass through. So that is important. Then another thing is prayers. If you pray for another person, when you pray, we develop a positive thought that is healthy and that is helping us also to remain healthy. And when we are managing and anger with other people, especially we pray for others is very important, especially during fightings, especially in families, especially fightings happen. Pray for the other person is very important, but our prayer may not be impacted immediately, because even though we send the positive vibrations to the other person, if the other person is filled with the negativity, the negativity within that person will not allow the positivity from outside to impact on that person to make positive changes. But continue to pray. The moment that person becomes slightly positive, your mounting prayers will immediately impact and make big changes in that person. So that is why our prayers are very important. That's why is any centuries old cultures like India, when we go out, we seek blessings and prayers from everybody else, including our relatives, parents, for elders. That is very important. That good energy from them can stimulate and strengthen us. And the homeopathic medicine, how it impact, I will be explaining in detail after this. And the third possibility is the physical plane through biochemical reactions. Unfortunately, the third possibility, which is also one third of the possibility, is the only possibility scientifically considered when in 1910, through the one-man committee report of Abraham Flexner, Carnegie Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation declared biochemical medicine should be the scientific medicine. They nullified and ignored the most important two-thirds of the possibilities, bringing medical science to only a minimal impacting business opportunity only than curative medicine. That's why so many diseases are remaining less understood and remaining as incurable diseases, and causes of such a disease are, especially the most difficult diseases, are still remaining idiopathic diseases, because the causes are not understood, because the causes lie in dynamic plane. So these are very important information that are going to transform the entire humanity within the excuse, next few decades. We all need to play important role in spreading this message so that such a big scientific transformation can happen. And it is a time of a transformation of Kali Yuga to the Satya Yuga, where the truth persists, or the coming is the time of Aquarius, where the belief transform into knowledge. And these are instruments to transform the belief into knowledge. So I hope you understand these important things. We are trying to, now we get into homeopathy. How homeopathic material medicines, the material ingredients we start preparing, converting into energy level to impact on the vital force. So we all know that we prepare homeopathic medicine from different material ingredients as the fundamental unit, where atoms and molecules are involved. But when we potentize it into higher levels, they themselves tell there is nothing present when you chemically analyze. But we homeopaths all know that we use potencies in 200, 1000, 10,000, 50,000 cm potencies. All these are very effective. So if nothing is present there, how it become effective? So I am bringing to your awareness the definition of atom. The concept of atom was first introduced in the West by two Greek philosophers, Leucippus and Democritus. And their definition of atom is that, their understanding of atom is that, their introduction of atom is in such a way that it is the uncuttable, indivisible end unit of matter. That was the original concept. In our Hindu culture or India, we say Paramanu as atom and Anu as molecule, which are also with the same meaning of indivisible, uncuttable end unit of matter. But today, when the West developed the atomic theory, they deviated from the fundamental concept of atom and they brought out the theory that atoms are made up of electron, proton, and neutron. And the protons and neutrons are in the center nucleus, and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. That is the concept they forward. Meaning, the final end unit of atom they divided once again. So there is lot of problems in that atomic model, because if we burn a piece of paper, we get light and heat as end product. If the meaning it is breaking to the end, the atoms or molecules are also affected there. But in atoms are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons only. By and from where the light and heat come out. So there are a lot of questions they are unable to properly answer. So in dynamic science, we are using quantum mechanism and quantum theory to redefine matter. And we redefine matter stating that matter or the atoms are nothing but self-spinning vibrational unit of varying frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. Each element has an atom. Their atom is nothing but a vibrational unit, and each element has a vibrational frequency difference of its frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. And these vibrating units, instead of moving forward, are remaining stabilized, spinning in its own axis. In solid state, these vibrational unit with the different elements with a specific frequency, wavelength, and amplitude is remaining heavily compressed, and in liquid state loosely compressed, and in gaseous state very loosely compressed, and in space not at all compressed. And planets are places which are made up of compressed units of these atoms or vibrational units, solid, liquid, and gases. Stars are where it is concentrated, which can come out and go in any time. So these are important definition and redefinition of matter and atom that will help us understand so many hidden and unexplainable things today. So I am going to explain one by one. First of all, understanding cosmos. Cosmos is the universe. The entire universe is we called cosmos, and macrocosm is the larger perspective of the cosmos, and microcosm is the minute aspect of the cosmos. So I am bringing another hypothesis that how we see the macrocosm similarly will be the microcosm also. That's why we are seeing a picture here. In the picture, you are seeing a solar system with the center, with the sun as the center, and different planets revolving around it, and an atomic force microscope picture of an atom at the right side, where you can see a sun-like center, which the current atomic theory people say as nucleus, where planetary revolvement like a mechanism is visible, which they say that electrons are revolving around it, whereas I am presenting it in a different understanding with the macrocosmic arrangement of the microcosm. So in the atom, these things are in a different manner. It is nothing but a microcosmic arrangement of nanoparticles or atoms. That is why in the center there is an energy concentrate like the stars in the miniature, surrounded by planetary nanoparticles or a bundle of a quanta of energy which is revolving around the center focused energy concentration center. That's why when we burn a paper, these energy get liberated at the quantum breaking point through the heat of that miniature. That's why the light and heat are released. In the same thing happens when we potentize homeopathic medicine in a systematic mathematical manner, diluting and liberating and spreading the compressed energy units in the matter we are using in the preparation of medicine. So the nanoparticles are nothing but a quanta of energy or a few atoms remaining collectively arranged in a unique microcosmic manner as we are seeing it in the macrocosm. So when we potentize, so the similarity of macrocosm and microcosm. So when we potentize, what will happen? Potentization can be defined as a unique way of homeopathic medicine preparation with the process of continuous dilution of the medicinal substance with a vehicle through succussion or trituration, whereby breaking down the compressed energy units in the medicinal substance to individual energy units or to an energy level or quanta of energy or to nanoparticle level where this quanta is remaining systematically arranged in certain fashion so that these energy units can remain liberated and can resonate with the vital force to bring back the lost purity and stability. So this is a unique process available only in homeopathic medicine, that continuous dilution in a mathematical manner liberate the compression. For example, we are preparing 1 ml of, for those who didn't understand chemistry well, the controversy with the homeopathic medicine is that in Avogadro's hypothesis, 1 gram atom of any medicine, any substance contains 6.023 into 10 raised to 23 atoms of that substance. So when we prepare our medicine through centesimal scale of preparation, when it reaches the 12th potency, the dilution become 10 raised to minus 24. And that is the quantum breaking point, because that is an important turning point, because for example, the atomic weight of carbon is 12. It means that 12 grams of carbon contains 6.023 into 10 raised to 23 atoms of carbon. So when we prepare homeopathic medicine with 1 gram of carbon, when it reaches the 12th potency, the dilution becomes 10 raised to minus 24. Meaning, even an atom of carbon is not possibly available there. But we all know that we are using different potencies of 30th, 200, 1000, 10,000, and more than that. It is very effectively working. So what is happening there? When we take the first potency, for example, sulfuric acid, we prepare sulfuric acid medicine 1 ml first. In centesimal preparation, mix it with 99 ml of distilled water and give 10 succussion so that it will 1 ml get expand to 100 ml. So the dilution is 10 raised to minus 2. From where we take 1 ml and again mix with the 99 ml, and that again 1 ml, there is little liberated energy vibrations of condensed sulfuric acid is there, that again expand to 100 ml. So that process we continue. What we are doing, the compressed energy of the molecules of anu of or molecule of these energy vibrational units present in the sulfuric acid get liberated, which remain in a liquid fashion in a moderately compressed manner, get liberated. There are different fashions of arrangement in the microcosm also. When each microcosmic bondage will be breaking when it reaches the dilution certain level at the quantum breaking point. That's why we have conducted the study of our homeopathic medicines from lower potency to higher potency with an energy measuring apparatus developed by a Russian scientist called Dr. Korotkov, GDB machine. We identified that the energy level of homeopathic medicine fluctuates like a wave also. It indicates that the quantum of energy is present there, and as we go on diluting at the different levels of potencies, these quantum breaking points are breaking and liberating the energy of that condensation or quanta remain liberated. The higher the potency, maximum liberated energy will be there. And also, there can be creation of energy through breaking of splitting of through interference. These energy vibrations can be split, and new similar for vibrations can be formed also. So scientificity of homeopathy. So what is acting curatively in homeopathic medicine is nothing but the liberated energy vibrational frequencies which are originally present in the atoms of the original substance we started preparation of homeopathic medicine. As the higher the potency, the more higher liberated energy vibrational units are present, so the maximum effect. But these energy units are the one acting curatively in homeopathic medicine. And how it works? So when we prove a homeopathic medicine, we give this medicine with the liberated energy vibrations present in the potentized medicine to a healthy human being whose vital force is in a healthy range. So these liberated energy vibrations in the medicines superpose with the vital force and make a temporary proportionate alteration that will appear as signs and symptoms from head and foot, including the mental emotional plane that we note down. So these changes are taking, the proving is happening because of the superposition of the homeopathic medicine energy in the homeopathic proving medicine impacting on the vital force, healthy vital force of the healthy individual we are trying to prove, and that alteration will be manifesting at the time of proving. We note and study so many people, so many races, so many individuals, so many ages, and we note it down. That is what we study in our Materia Medica. Now we are coming to practice. A patient come. How a disease develop? Because of the alteration of the frequency of the vital force from the healthy to unhealthy. That alteration also has a unique frequency alteration. That signs and symptoms in that patient is definitely proportional to the alteration of the healthy vital force to the unhealthy vital force. So that alteration is the one manifested from head to foot, including in the mental emotional plane of signs and symptoms. So we consider we understand the totality of symptoms through case taking and analysis, and that totality of symptoms with the uniqueness we compare with the Materia Medica and identify a medicine that produced a similar symptomatology at the time of proving, and that is the one medicine given to the patient under the principle of similia similibus curandum. So what will happen when we give? Since the difference in the vital force frequency of the sick individual in front of us is similar to the liberated energy present in the homeopathic medicine that produces similar symptoms at the time of proving, meaning this medicine contains a liberated vibrational frequency of similar frequency wavelength and amplitude as happened in the sick individual. That's why resonation happened. That's what we saw it in the physics lab experiment using tuning fork and sonometer. When we saw a vibrating to a sonometer with a specific length of string with a specific tension is pre-tuned with the frequency wavelength and amplitude of a vibrating tuning fork. Then we tap and vibrate the tuning fork and bring it near to the string. the string spontaneously start vibrating. That is called resonation. Similarly, if we choose a medicine based on the similia similibus principle, when we give that medicine, since the frequency of the medicinal liberated energy is similar to the altered vital force energy, it immediately resonate and reinstate the lost purity of the vital force of that sick individual. And homeopathic cure happens through theory of resonation. And it happens only if we select the similimum or similar medicine. So take-home message is that science and medical science need to be furthered from material or linear science to holistic or non-linear science. Understanding the science behind homeopathy is going to help furtherance of science in general and medical science in particular. Homeopathy works in an energy plane by optimizing the vital force into its healthy, pure frequency through resonance. Holistic science should be the science of homeopathy and medicine. Thank you for your patient listening. Hope you understood. Now it is time for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaji. And Dr. Yashka, our car volunteer, is here. And would you like to take any questions, please, if they are mentioned in the chat?
What is that? There are questions. Okay.
Yeah. Is there any questions, Dr. Yashika?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I would like to thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to request the audience to please post the questions if you have any.
We will take one or two questions, and if anyone has any more, they can email us to casteditygroup@gmail.
I would also like to thank Dr. Shaji Kudiyat sir for taking such a wonderful presentation for us and guiding the audience so beautifully.
Who is this, Yashika?
Dr. Yashika.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Yashika.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I know. Yeah, I think Dr. Kavita was introduced to me by yourself, no?
Yes, definitely. And I did a webinar with IFPH forum. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Dr. Shaji. I think someone is, can someone unmute or
Some
mute?
disturbance.
Yes, disturbance.
Yes.
Who is that? Let me.
Ma'am, there are no questions yet.
Okay. So then, so no questions. I think everyone thoroughly enjoyed, including myself, and very nicely explained dynamic science, homeopathy, and lot of valuable information, especially about cancer. It's a wonderful presentation, Dr. Shaji, and I am learning spiritual science. And everything is energy, atoms, molecules. We are all made up of atoms and molecules and vibrate with frequency, energy levels perfectly. That goes, as mentioned in today's session, which is very enlightening, and the positive set of mind, construction DNA, and how the negative mind, all that we are seeing in our day-to-day life. And recently at our Ka Homeopathy Study Group conference, international conference, I spoke about homeopathy and meditation, a spiritual science at quantum physics. And today's discussion perfectly recollected all those experiences, all that thing. And thank you so much. The purity of mind, forgiveness, these are all the valuable things, prayers that we need to remind to others and become oneness with the universe. So I know Kathy, Dr. Kathy is waiting for her session now. So thank you once again,
Okay,
Dr.
one more minute. So this information you listen within an hour now is developed by years of continuous meditative thinking, analysis, and studying for many years. So it is now you listen within an hour. But this is took so much time to develop with the continuous, dedicated, prayerful, meditative process. All these things are coming developed during my meditative prayer sessions, which I always do before I go to my clinic. So it all developed during that time. So all the solutions for every question that we have is within us. So when we ask that question with the deep innate, we deep dedicated, passionate questioning to within ourselves, our 46 chromosomes carries the entire knowledge since the beginning of universe, and it will reveal to us. So the same thing happened for me to develop this idea. So that it took years, though, even though I presented it in a short period of time. So now the universe is in need of this important information as we transform from Kali Yuga to Satyuga. To this is coming is the knowledge, the time of Akira of Aquarius, that is the knowledge era. So from belief era, we are transforming into knowledge era. So these are all going to play crucial player, which we all need to get connected and remain united in spreading it across the world for the awareness and well-being and healthy, peaceful, harmonious existence of humanity. And I hope I will get wholehearted support from all of you in spreading it across the universe in our lifetime, so that we can make big transformation in the health sector, in the medical sector, in the scientific sector, and so many other areas. Thank you very much.
Well said, Dr. Shaji, and that is the reason universe got connected and me to through meditation, Miraculous Minds Center, which we started, and with the spiritual science today's. So once again, thank you so much for your precious time in sharing the knowledge and wisdom at our study group today, and we will look forward to see you again. And with your permission, we will honor Dr. Kathy Lemon to our webinar. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And Dr. Kathy Lemon, PhD Homeo, LCPH, PG, and RS Homene is an homeopath founder and director, president of HPWWC, Homeoprophylaxis, a worldwide choice for disease prevention. Dr. Lemon specializes in the use of non toxic immunization option known as homeoprophylaxis, as well as homeopathic treatment of vaccine damage. She first learned of this in 1999, shortly after her second son was diagnosed with autism. Her passion for it began even then, as she noted how effective this non toxic approach to promoting immunity. She completed her doctorate in homeopathy, homeoprophylaxis through Bircham International University in Spain. Dr. Lemon completed her homeopathic studies through schools in UK and Europe, and she has also received and completed specialized homeopathic training in Germany and the Netherlands and Australia, and has also received specialized training in backflower from Tony Pingus of Ainsworth in the UK. Dr. Lemon has articles in many international magazines, including Homeopathic Links. Dr. Lemon has a busy homeopathic practice, having been able to successfully help her clients work and resolve many issues, chronic and acute. And for more information, visit www.homeopathy-kathylemon.com. And let us welcome our second honorable speaker, Dr. Kathy, to our webinar. Dr. Kathy?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I'm always very honored to be able to present for you. It's a passion of mine to share what I can. So let me see. Can I go ahead and share?
Yeah, sure, Kathy. I think you are co-host. Yes, please.
Okay. Now you had, okay, do I share it?
Yeah, you can share.
From my computer then?
Yes.
Okay, pardon me for just a moment. Let me make sure that I'm 1 minute here. Sometimes I feel like I've got it all together, then other times I have to second guess everything. So.
No hurry, Kathy. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, are you seeing it all right?
We are seeing.
I just need to.
Yes, we can see.
Oh, I apologize. Where do I get to the
Slideshow?
Let me try moving this. There we go. Easily. Okay, is the slideshow present?
Yes.
Okay. Electronics are not my forte. So here we go. So I'm always grateful for this, and let me again present to you the disclaimer that Kavitha and her team have asked me to share, that this is for educational purposes only. Please respect this, as has been shared. So, and we all know this, there we are with this. So let me just, what I have to share has to do with this idea of homeoprophylaxis, which is something that many have heard about, many misunderstand. We are to a point in time where so much has changed within these last 4 or 5 years now. And I think it's time for us all to wake up and realize what we have, because this is a homeopathic audience. I feel it's I feel very, very strongly that it's good for us, that it's absolutely necessary for us in homeopathy to actually understand and appreciate what we have within homeopathic medicine. There's a phrase that we have known through the ages, okay? Those who do not learn from history are damned to repeat it again and again. This is something that has been known, as I've said, throughout time. And here's something from 1884 from the great homeopath James Burnett. He says this: truth is not truth, save only to the infinite. To the mind of mortal man, truth is not necessarily truth, but only that which appears to be true. Hence it is that what is glorious truth to one man is inglorious nonsense to another, and both individuals may be equally honest of purpose and of like earnestness in their search after truth. Please consider what all that is presenting to us today, because we are in a day today. This is 140 years ago that this was shared, but this is still the case today, and it's been made so manifest with what has happened, especially in these last 5 years. Okay, what is true? Well, let's look at this further as we examine health today. There's no question a lot of progress has been made with conventional medicine. No question there, but a lot of confusion has also entered. So let's consider what we have with homeopathy, with what we have always had with homeopathy. Let me introduce you to, and I know you have all heard of this Organon of Medicine, an incredible book put together, compiled by the founder of homeopathy, whom we all know, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. All right, what he wanted, this book, there has been no other book like this. What he wanted was to have a book that would compile his philosophies, his approaches, his practice, his studies, what he encapsulates within what he has called homeopathic medicine, what we know today as homeopathy. Okay, the very first aphorism in this, and I've got about 5 copies of the Organon over there, most of which are the 6th edition, and that's another thing to bear in mind with this Organon of Medicine. Hahnemann knew it wasn't complete. Hahnemann produced 6 versions of it. The sixth one, of course, was only published many years posthumously. Okay, I say this again and again, I'll say it here too. I firmly believe that if Hahnemann were still alive today, he would probably be working on the 26th edition of the Organon. It's something that while the fundamentals of homeopathy have not changed since Hahnemann's time, still times change. So we need to keep our eyes open, but we need to keep our focus on what Hahnemann first presented. Here, aphorism 1, the physician's highest calling, his only calling, is to make sick people healthy, to heal, as it is termed. This is what we all know. What we all too often have overlooked is what the PS, and in all my versions of the Organon that I have over here, I've looked through all them all, they've all got this as well. That basically says this. Hahnemann adds, it is not to weave so-called systems of fancy ideas from, let me try this again. It is not to weave so-called systems from fancy ideas and hypotheses about the inner nature of the vital processes and the origin of diseases in the invisible interior of the organism, on which so many fame-seeking physicians have wasted their powers and times. As I read this, think about what we are in the middle of today, okay? Nor does it consist of trying endlessly to explain disease phenomena and their proximate cause, which will always elude him. That's the principle Hahnemann enunciated again and again. Nor does it consist of holding forth in unintelligible words or abstract and pompous expressions in an effort to appear learned, so as to astonish the ignorant, while the world in sickness cries in vain for help. They want help, but we want to present all these great words in front of them. Surely by now, we have had enough of these pretentious fantasies called theoretical medicine, for which university chairs have even been established. And it is time for those calling themselves physicians to stop deceiving poor human beings by their talk and to start acting instead. That is really helping and healing. This is what it is time we now remember, what we have always had in homeopathy. Yes, it is good. It is necessary to always learn, but it is fundamentally of tantamount importance to remember our purpose, and that is to heal. Remember too that no individual has done more good to the medical profession than Samuel Hahnemann. Now, what is homeopathy? Dr. Shaji presented so well about this in what he presented, but I want to get to even more fundamental about this, more fundamentals about this, because this is where what I'm known for, this homeoprophylaxis idea, where we can understand it better, as we understand homeopathy better, as we understand what we have in homeopathy. What is homeopathy? I want to present homeopathic definitions and understanding of health, of disease and illness, including how disease spreads, and the idea of prevention, or as Hahnemann presents, this lessening of susceptibility. Now, because I live in the United States, I'm going to present to you a few thoughts about what has been taking place here in the United States. In its first century here, it came here to this country in the early 1820s. Okay, so the American Institute of Homeopathy, or the AIH, is the oldest medical organization in the US. Please know there's a lot of history that I'm not going to get into here. I'm just going to be touching on a few points. Okay, the AIH, the oldest medical organization, predates the American Medical Association by at least 3 years. The AMA technically was established in retaliation to the American Institute of Homeopathy. Now, in 1869, this idea was presented to many communities were converted to homeopathy by a single woman with her domestic kit. America was a growing country back then. And guess what? It happened again and again. This was shared by Reuben Ludlam. And I recently found this out, and I'll share it with you here. This is my great great-great-grandmother and grandfather, but my great-great-grandmother, Clara Jane Burton Deloney. She was one of these women with her domestic homeopathic kit. She was on record in her little town of when the doctors said, sorry, I can't do anything more for you. You're a lost cause. They would go to see her. The patient would go to see her, and again, she would heal them. With what? Her homeopathic medicines, her little things. She had quite a reputation, and I strongly feel it's her influence. It's her universal influence that has been influencing me in what I do with homeopathy. Now, in the early 20th century, here in the United States, there was established a qualifying course for laymen because there continued to be people who wanted to practice homeopathy who were not physicians, who were not medical doctors. And so there was established again in the early 20th century, this qualifying course for laymen. And yes, again, this was 1946. Some of the wordage from the flyer from this includes this: there were few masters of homeopathic prescribing. Keep in mind how this presents how homeopathy was viewed. Masters of homeopathic prescribing. Few of those. That means that was probably something very important, very necessary. All right. And it also included this quote, and I love this quote here: homeopathy is not so much a separate school of medicine, but a postgraduate extension of medical training. Please let that sink in for how homeopathy is. Until the earlier 20th century, it was in place here in the United States, as it is still in many other nations, that you cannot practice homeopathy unless you were an MD, a medical doctor as well. In 1938, so it's known too, our FDA, which earlier was known as the FDCA, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. This was established by a proposal from a New York homeopath, Dr. Roland Copeland, who was in the federal government at the time, a congressman. And I can get more and more into that, but just so you know how much homeopathic medicine was respected. However, at this time in Great Britain, homeopathic practice was not limited to physicians. We're at such a point of change now. The American Institute of Homeopathy today still will only admit medical doctors who are homeopathically trained. Now just consider what that, hopefully, well, what it's considering. I am not a medical doctor. I am a doctor of homeopathic medicine. I take what I do very, very seriously. I'm simply not a medical doctor. Let me present this to you with that thought. In 1976, it was shared by Elaine Node that this here, physicians who are so steeped in the conventional medical model could not generally have the deeper comprehension of the homeopathic model. Think about where we are with conventional medicine today. He went further: to trust the preservation of homeopathy to conventional medicine would lead to either the demise of homeopathy or the development of using it in an allopathic way, either of which would have an adverse effect on homeopathy. Now, today, I have found this again and again. There is a gross misunderstanding, even within homeopathy. I know of homeopathic schools here in the United States who, when I have looked through their courses of study, when I have been in conference with many of their students, I have observed how they are teaching not homeopathically. They're teaching about finding a remedy to treat this disease, to treat this condition, to treat this, what happens when this happens. Well, that's not observing what we need to be, what we are trained to do in homeopathy. That is to observe symptoms and work with those, work with the unique case. Why should we in homeopathy feel a need to define ourselves and what we know and do using conventional means? Now, that also provides another difficulty we are in we are in the middle of today, especially here in the United States, because our FDA today wants to, is demanding that homeopathic medicines be subject to the testing for conventional meds? There's a night and day difference between the two meds. We know this in the established documentation for the Food and Drug Administration says that conventional medicines are subject to the pharmacopoeia of the United States. A medicine that is a homeopathic medicine, however, is subject to the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the United States. Completely different. So this is what we find ourselves in the middle of today. And this is what, with what I present to you today, I want us to understand more fully what we have in homeopathy. It is not conventional medicine. It is completely different. Let's look at the 3 foundational homeopathic fundamentals that we all know. Individualization. There's no cookie cutter approach in homeopathy. This idea of like cures like, and even like prevents like. That's been said throughout homeopathic history too. And the idea of minimum dose. More and more frequent dosing will not be any more effective, except of course for acute cases, but we will discuss that another time. So let's get into homeopathic understandings of ideas of sickness and illness, the idea of health. We in homeopathy are salutogenic. We're not looking for pathogens. We're not pathogenic. We're looking at what makes us well, what will keep us well. Okay, so to do this, you can't define something by its opposite, but I'm presenting what I want you to consider as far as visually. What does conventional medicine understand as far as health? Well, lots of research is available quickly with the internet that we have today. Okay, the WHO site actually has a nice layout here at this website here, saying in part, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Again, you cannot define something by its opposite. So that's a good beginning of it. A medical dictionary that I have, Webster's, says health is the state of having a normally active body and mind. I then tried to find websites, the Merck Manual as well, websites being the Health Harvard, Merriam Medical, Medline Plus, they have no definition of health, just terms containing this word. Okay, whereas what do we have in homeopathy as far as health? There's a wonderful book. Well, before I get into that, let me, of course, first present to you what Hahnemann shares in aphorism 9 of his wonderful organism. In the state of health, the spirit-like vital force, or the dynamis, animating the material human organism reigns in supreme sovereignty. It maintains the sensations and activities of all the parts of the living organism in a harmony that obliges wonderment. The reasoning spirit who inhabits the organism can thus freely use this healthy living instrument to reach the lofty goal of human existence. Hahnemann had a very high view of health and what it is we want to help patients be cured to enjoy health. What is this lofty goal of human existence? That's for us to define. Okay, what is the conventional idea of illness and disease? And this is huge, okay? You name it, they're going to have a definition for it. This is what they are geared for, defining and prescribing for these. I was taught long ago, legally, that homeopathy does not diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any conventionally labeled disease or condition. Let me present to you that this is fundamentally because these labels, these diagnoses, are for the purpose of billing insurance, the purpose of prescribing a drug. These are not observing what's going on. These are looking for little things that will lead you here or there. Okay? This is something, these labels are something that they can make money from. And I found this back in 2018 at this website. You can look it up if you want. The idea of, is it really a solid business practice for doctors to cure people? It has been lost. It has been lost what healthcare is all about. The term disease is literally those two words put together, dis and ease in English. Okay. Now let's look at things from homeopathic view. I will highly recommend Jay Yasgur's wonderful homeopathic dictionary. It's primarily available over here, out here in the West, but I will encourage you to find this and utilize this if you're able to. Here's what Mr. Yasgur shares as far as disease: an illness or sickness, a disturbance in structure or function of an organ system or part of the body. An abnormal condition of an organism or part thereof as a consequence of stress, infection, inherent weakness, or environmental stressors, which impairs the normal functioning of the organism. A state of disease is present if two of the following are present: consistent anatomical alterations, a recognizable etiological agent, or the identification of signs and symptoms. Okay, it's not a label. Look at all this we've got to be looking at and observing. Further, H.A. Roberts shares, disease itself is impossible of observation. We only see and record the effects of disease. We can only record the symptoms. The inner expressions are dynamic in nature. Their outward expression is functional. Very important. Additionally, J.H. Clark shares this: there are no such things as diseases in the abstract to treat, only diseased persons. And each case must be individualized and treated on its merits and not according to the name of the disease by some drug that has been named as the anti. And I will present this in Burnett's wonderful book, Vaccinosis and its Cure by Tuya, which I will talk more about in a moment. He shares this idea: the protective power of vaccination is due to a diseased state of the body. Think about that, what that is presenting as well. Now, further, this is just so wonderful. Hahnemann shares that the idea of disease and sickness are internal. He talks about this a lot in his Organon. They are not caused by a pathogen, including a virus, a bacteria, whatever. They are caused by an unwell or a susceptible and therefore receptive self or vital force. Disease or sickness are a frame of mind. These are something we allow into ourselves. They're different, of course, when things happen because of circumstances like drugs or procedures, things like what we've seen specifically in these last 5 years. Okay, but they are conventional things. Ultimately, we must realize and help our patients, our clients, to realize that because of this, it is a very personal thing to know and realize health and wellness. We're not looking for signs. We're not looking for permanent customers. I tell my clients this all the time. I don't want a permanent customer. I want you well. The homeopath works to encourage the body to heal itself. So let's look at the conventional idea of immunity. Okay, it's come to this. The indicators of immunity, they say, are antibodies and titers. These can be very important to assess. There's no denying this. However, it's gotten to the point, and I've looked this up on CDC websites, WHO websites, the purpose of a vaccine is to cause the body to produce antibodies. They want us to be conditioned to the idea that immunity is the presence of antibodies, the presence of titers. Well, for years, it has been understood that immunity can be confirmed with no antibodies present. Additionally, a lack of immunity can be demonstrated when antibodies are present. Immunity, I tell people this all the time. Immunity is a whole lot more than this. Well, what do you do when they require the presence of the antibodies? That's another story. That's something that we have to, and that's one of the reasons I'm presenting about this today. Raise awareness of what immunity is. It's a whole lot more than this. It's a whole body thing. The immune system is essentially the entire body. Okay, there's not an immune system like there's a circulatory system, like there's a respiratory system. It's the entire body. Homeopathy approaches this idea of immunity more as a lessening of susceptibility. Homeopathic medicines do this, lessen the susceptibility by strengthening one's vital force. So the purpose of homeoprophylaxis is to encourage and promote wellness. This can be found throughout homeopathic literature by Hahnemann and so on. Homeopathy, we focus on health first, not the prevention of disease, the building of health first. And this idea of not eliminating, because guess what? Polio has never been eliminated. It's simply been redefined. Same thing with smallpox. It's always here. Let's coexist. Let's work on having a strong, focus on having a strong vital force. That is what we need. So let's look now at the beginnings of homeopathic prophylaxis. Edward Jenner introduced a vaccine in about 1796. So interesting that Hahnemann in 1799 came across the prophylactic use of homeopathic medicines. It was something that needed to happen. Let me present to you this idea of prevention is better than cure. Who first said that? Well, it's kind of hard to determine this. It's attributed to Erasmus, and that's fair enough. I've also seen it attributed to Benjamin Franklin. Let me, with this, present this idea to you. Quote, the perfect prevention of infection and the discovery of a means whereby this divine aim may be surely attained offers infinite advantages over any mode of treatment, be it of the most incomparable kind soever. All those words, what do they say? Prevention is better than cure. Who presented this? Dr. Hahnemann himself. In his lesser writings, you can read this. And he wrote this in about 1801. And I will present too. This had to do with, his discovery had to do with an outbreak of scarlet fever, the highly contagious scarlet fever in the town of Königslutter in Germany. And he does not say here the perfect prevention of scarlet fever. He says the perfect prevention of infection. It's my firm belief that Hahnemann was not just talking about what he discovered as far as scarlet fever. He was looking at the whole big picture. Scientist said he was. He was looking at the whole big picture and considering what it was. What happened in 1799, an outbreak again of the highly contagious scarlet fever was beating Königslutter. He was asked to please come and take care of it. Well, he had treated this in many other times, and he had a couple of remedies that he was certain he could just use. However, again, scientist that he was, he didn't go there to use this remedy. He went there and first was analyzing the symptoms that were being presented by those being affected by this. And he found, oh, goodness, these don't have anything to do with these other two remedies. He found that they more coincided with the remedy of belladonna. And so he treated a young girl with this, and within 24 hours, she had it. Within 24 hours, she had her health back. She was running and playing like a normal young girl. Well, there was another family he was called to, a family of about 9 children, a very large family. 4 of them had come down with the scarlet fever. So he went there, and he noticed straight away that there was another daughter, the oldest daughter in that family, who he noted was ever one of the first to come down with a disease when it entered that area. But she did not have this highly contagious scarlet fever. However, she was taking the belladonna for an affliction of the fingers. He does not describe that, and that's just fine. He notes that she was taking the belladonna. And again, scientist that Hahnemann was, he said, let me look at this. There were 4 or 5 other siblings. He took that belladonna and treated them with it just to see if it might keep them from getting it. Guess what? They did not get it. So Hahnemann subsequently treated the entire town with the belladonna and stopped the pending epidemic of scarlet fever. And that began something that has stuck with homeopathy ever since. Now, this is from, you've probably heard of R.E. Robert Ellis Dudgeon. This is from a compilation that I have of his lectures from 1854. Wherein he says, the allopathic school of the present day does not concern itself much with medicinal prophylactics. Interesting to note with this that conventional medicine did not come up with another vaccine. 1796 was when Jenner introduced the smallpox one. Conventional medicine didn't come out with another one until about 1852. And that was one for rabies. Okay, they weren't interested in it, and Dudgeon noted this back in 1854. Whereas on the very next page I have of this, the search for medicinal prophylactics is, I may say, almost exclusively limited to homeopathists. And initially he points this out: the same rule that guides the homeopathist to the selection of a remedy should also guide him to the discovery of a prophylactic. It has been studied in homeopathy ever since Hahnemann's time. It was Hering who came up with using rabid dog saliva to potentize it, to use as a preventative for rabies. And guess what? Well, let me just get into this as well too. I forgot I had this here. Burnett says himself to the law of similars also applies to that of disease, the prevention of disease. Okay, this has been so central to homeopathy from its very beginnings. Now, here's a bit that Dudgeon also says on Hering in 1830. He says, Hering found that the saliva of the rabid dog not just might, it will work as a prophylactic of hydrophobia. What is hydrophobia? That is another word for rabies. It has been so central to homeopathy. So again, what is homeoprophylaxis? This is something that is widely misunderstood within homeopathy. There are many who look at this term of homeoprophylaxis and think, well, it's just a quick reaction. It's just an action from homeopathy to get money, to find a quick way to get money. No. Those who look at homeoprophylaxis as this don't understand this. I know homeopaths who, unfortunately, that's why they utilize it. I know naturopaths who got themselves trained in this because of the money that they can make. No, we have to understand what disease is. We have to understand what illness is. We have to understand what homeopathic medicines are, what health is. We have to look at it all. Homeoprophylaxis is an effective means of informing the immune system, strengthening the vital force, of lessening susceptibility. This is there's essentially nothing more homeopathic than its prophylactic use. I feel very, very strongly about this. We have similia similibus curentur, like cures like. It's so much more than that. Similes impedit. Like also prevents like. What is homeopathy? It's a complete form of healthcare. We all know this. Homeopathy works on symptoms and each body's unique presentation of these. what is this idea of unique presentation and this widespread use of homeopathic medicines as prophylaxis? I refer this to George Vithokas, the great teacher of homeopathy. We've heard of him. He does not approve of the prophylactic use of homeopathic medicine, and I would love to have audience with him so that I can share with him what I have seen, what I have known, what I know of this, because this idea of the blanket use, well, let's just look at this. With some labeled diseases, symptoms are quite consistently consistent, such as the pertussis, the whooping cough, the chickenpox, measles, and even the scarlet fever, as Hahnemann has found. This remains the same today. Okay, homeopathic medicines, as I said, to this day still work with this. Homeopathy also researches out what we have come to know as the genus epidemicus, a term that Hahnemann never used. But if Hahnemann had known this, he would have used it as well too. We work to determine from this the appropriate homeopathic medicine to use for this for treatment of the symptoms, not a labeled disease or condition. It's very important to know this too, as it has been said by homeopaths from the very beginning. What is used homeopathically for treatment can also be used for prevention. It's not a reaction by homeopathy. If it is, it's a reaction by those who don't fully understand homeopathy. This is what I will present to you is very, very vitally important for us to understand today as we move ahead. Now, I will also present to you that the prophylactic use of homeopathic medicines must be approached with proper homeopathic training and understanding in this. It fits right into practice, not just for humans, for animals, for plants and soils as well. It's part of homeopathy. It's part and parcel of homeopathy. Now, homeoprophylaxis is available for symptoms associated with nearly any labeled disease. There's long-term and short-term, which include for the flu, pertussis again, or whooping cough, tetanus, much, much more. I'm not going to get into all here for travel, including malaria, cholera, typhoid. I've recently helped a couple of people who are just going to Africa right now. Okay, and much, much more. Its effectiveness stands at about 90%. There's always the chance of contracting a disease. This must be simply understood. Okay, the chance is always there. But homeoprophylaxis provides a holistic, non-toxic, inherently safe, time-proven, effective choice that's been used for more than 200 years. The fundamentals of homeopathy have not changed in that long. Conventional medicine, as much good as it has provided for us today, it still cannot shake a stick at the track record what homeopathy and homeoprophylaxis have. Now, this again is my organization, Homeoprophylaxis, a worldwide choice for disease prevention. And through this, I've been able to put together some wonderful conferences that have taken place all around the world. I will encourage you to visit our website and learn more of this, and I'll be happy to come anywhere to present about homeoprophylaxis further. Studies and articles can be about this can be found at homeoprophylaxis.education. And again, this is another site, homestudy.net. And the Homeoprophylaxis Worldwide Choice for Disease Prevention website, you can look there as well. I have full practitioner training available in homeoprophylaxis, available here. And my book, I will encourage you to get this book. It's available on Amherst and Amazon. And I sincerely want to thank you for the time that you've provided me to share this with you. And I guess I'll open it now for any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kathy. And yes, Dr. Yashika, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Kathy, ma'am, for sharing such a beautiful presentation.
You're welcome.
It was very, very pleasant to see you again and listen and get knowledge from you once again. So I hope
Thank you.
everyone enjoyed the session. I would like to request the audience to kindly post your questions, your queries in the chat box. Over to you, Kavita ma'am.
Okay. So no questions. I think everyone got enjoyed. Um, and it is really refreshing. Kathy, it's a wonderful presentation, and again, like about history of homeopathy, homeoprophylaxis. It's such a nice that we keep on like to hear more and more and get many things. And being a certified HP supervisor, I do suggest homeoprophylaxis for everyone. And thank you so much. So,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Yashika, no questions. Then we would like to take privilege to honor Dr. Kathy's gracious presence and for her precious time in sharing the knowledge and wisdom at our
My
study group
pleasure.
with the CAR certificate. Please kindly accept from our team.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
We will have you again, Dr. Kathy. And
Thank you.
so, shall we announce the upcoming events? Okay. So, on January 19th, 2025, we have two renowned speakers, Dr. Kavita Chandak from India on topic personality transformation in alopecia universalis through homeopathy. And second speaker, Dr. Laurie Grassman from New York, president of NCH, National Center for Homeopathy, USA, and on topic case analysis, finding the best method for the doctor and the patient. And we have many more renowned homeopaths lined up for our CAR webinars. And since it's so much is about the spirituality, so on December 15th, 10 a.m., same time, Eastern time, and 8:30 p.m. India, we are having group inspirational talk. Our CAR study group inspirational talk on topic self-realization and transformation and full moon group meditation from calm miraculous minds. So we request interested people to join. And Dr. Yashka, you wanted to say anything or anyone from our team?
Yes, ma'am. I want to update to the audience about our ethics and benefits. May I?
Sure, go ahead, Dr. Yashka.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So here I come with the CA Homeopathy Study Group for Pro Bono Ethics and Benefits. The first one is to be a CA speaker. You need at least 1 to 2 months active volunteering. Only CA speaker themes are promoted in newsletters and webinars. CA provides volunteering for 2 to 12 months, respects and inspires volunteers to grow. Active volunteers will be promoted through our website, social media, and added to our WhatsApp group. Articles of volunteers will be posted on CAR website and newsletter and will be sent to for publication to other journals as well. The volunteers and speakers are eligible for prestigious CAR annual awards. The volunteers are eligible for CAR inspirational talks. Volunteers are eligible for case discussions. CAR promotes homeopathic organizations as well as their mega events. CAR promotes great work of speakers through their book reviews, events after the webinar. And CAR maintains a healthy and happy environment, so keeps only like-minded folks. And CAR requests everyone to maintain the confidentiality of the group. Thank you so much. Is there any question or any query? You can post in the chat box. I would also request the audience to, if you have attended the today's webinar, then please share your email. And if you do not receive the certificate within 1 week, please send an email to caststudygroup@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Yasha, and thank you to all the listeners, all the participants, and our esteemed honorable speakers, Dr. Shaji and Dr. Kathy, for their gracious presence, once again, and to all the call volunteers who have joined today, Dr. Sweta Singh, Dr. Yashika, many are there, Dr. Nikhil, Dr. Shravana, and Dr. Mamata, Dr. Krutik, and so many are there, Dr. Deepika, Balani, and many more, and Dr. Ashok Madan, and the other many volunteers have joined. Thank you so much for your precious time. You can get the details and updates on our social media too, Ka Homeopathy Study Group at Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And yeah, thank you all. See you all at our group inspirational talk and at our next webinar. Until then, stay healthy, happy. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We are signing off. Thank you all.